I get that you might already be past this point in Valheim already, but this is for any new players that are coming to the game. So you start Valheim after the Star Wars intro and the Valkyrie flying you to the boss altars. This is where you will start your adventure. At these altars, there is a stone there with red shiny text on it. This will tell you where the first boss is located, and it will also mark it on your map. First, you should collect tree branches on the ground and start punching these small little trees. Avoid the bushes as they take too long to break, and the normal big trees will take, they won't break because you can't break them with your fists. It's not Minecraft. Start picking up stones that you see on the ground. This is the only way to get stones until you kill the first boss and get a pickaxe. With both these materials, you'll be able to craft a stone axe and a hammer. I recommend crafting a stone axe first and focus on hitting the small trees that you were hitting before, as they are the fastest way to collect wood in the early game. You can also take down beech trees, which are just basically the normal trees in the meadows, but it does take a lot of hits to do so, and you do have to like split it and break it. You'll see what I mean. Now, once the axe runs out of durability, you should have enough wood to build your first house or base. Using the hammer, you can place down a workbench and then build a floor under the workbench, walls around the workbench, and a roof on top of it. This will now allow you to open the workbench and repair your tools and also begin crafting a hoe. You can use this hoe on the ground to flatten the ground evenly. Start directly below you and then flatten the land around you to match the land to the height point of where you are standing. It will only work if the ground is not too high or too low to the position you're standing on. So if you try to flatten land on a hill, it's not really going to work the way you want it to. Now on this flat land, you can start building your floors for your base and use the middle mouse button to break down your workbench if you've placed it in a location that you want to move it. You can now place it in a new location on your new flooring, wherever you want it to be in your base. And when you do break a building this way with the middle mouse button, you will get all the materials that you used to craft it back. So don't worry about losing any materials. You can break things and craft them and reposition them as much as you like. So these are the following things that you need to add into your base. The first thing is a bed. A bed is obviously so that you can skip nighttime by sleeping. Quite simple, don't have to go further in detail. A campfire, which can't be placed on your flooring. So you'll have to actually break the floor where you want to place the campfire and then place it on the ground, but also make sure it's near your bed because you can't sleep without a nearby fire. It's very weird. But you also should build a chimney above the campfire because otherwise the smoke is just going to fill your entire house and you're going to die of smoke poisoning. So build a chimney with a roof above it, so you don't want a hole where like rain is going to come through, but you need to have an exit for the smoke. So kind of have a roof at the top of your chimney and an exit of the chimney to the side instead of directly upwards. Because as I mentioned earlier, if the rain lands on the campfire will go out, which means you can't sleep. So if it's a cold, raining night, you're going to be spending that time in the dark rain for 20 minutes. And the rain will also slowly damage any wooden buildings that don't have a roof above it. You'll also need cooking stations. Now, cooking stations is kind of like two sticks and like a stick across it, holding basically meat above the fire. So build a few of these over the campfire to cook your meat or necktails as you collect them so that you can actually make them edible. Because when you eat food in this game, you get extra health points and you get extra stamina. It's also a good time to start building chests for storage as well because you will need so many of them because you're going to have so much stuff to store. Now, the area that you start in is called the Meadows, and you can find raspberries and mushrooms to loot while walking around. These can be eaten. You can eat 3 different types of foods that will each increase your health and stamina for different amounts, so you can just hover over it to see what those amounts are, and it will go until you're hungry again, and then you need to eat. So it usually lasts about like 1,200 seconds. Food at the end of the game will last a lot longer. It's also a good idea to use your map to start marking locations like where the raspberry bushes are. Don't break the raspberry bushes because every 3 in-game days, those berries will grow back on those bushes and you can collect them again. So make sure you mark them and you come back every few days to just collect all of them. There are also animals and enemies you may find roaming around, like boars. Now, you can kill these boars for boar trophies. You can kill them for meat, leather. You can also lure them into a trap that you've built and tame them by throwing raspberries in the trap. And over time, they'll just eat the raspberries until they tamed, and then you can basically breed them if you have 2 of them in there. You'll also find deer out in the meadows, but you will need to use a bow to hunt them because if you get too close, they'll run away and they're very hard to catch because they run so fast. So try to be sneaky and aim your shots. When you do kill them, they drop deer trophies, they drop meat, and they drop deer hide, different from the boar's leather. You can also find necks. Now, these are aggressive creatures. You will usually find them around rivers and the ocean side, so they're always by water. They drop necktails and neck trophies when killed. The necktails can be actually cooked and turned into food. You might also find grey dwarfs that are usually in the Black Forest, but they will actually show up at night, and also if you get too close to the Black Forest, which is usually around your meadows, they will walk into the meadows and they'll try to attack you and stuff. So if you get too close, the only thing you really need to get from them is resin, but you can also get that from trees, and you use resin to craft standing torches, fire arrows. It's also used as a fuel for any placed torches that you might have. Alright, so here are some steps to follow before starting the first boss fight with Eikthyr. Walk along any rivers or oceans to find flint, which is a rectangle, shiny kind of stone, which you can use to craft stronger arrows called flint arrows, and also some better tools like a flint axe, a flint knife, and a flint spear. You should also be able to make 2 workbench upgrades, which you can place next to your workbench, which will unlock new things like crafting leather armor and a leather helmet using deer hide at your workbench. Make sure you collect resources to upgrade your armor and your bow as much as possible to increase your damage and defense for the boss fight as well as the Black Forest that you'll be visiting after. I recommend training your bow skill by using wooden arrows. You can select the arrows that you want to use in your inventory by just right-clicking it and it will highlight it in blue. On my screen, I am using a mod so that it kind of looks a bit different, so don't get too confused with that. And all you have to do to train your bow skill is literally just shoot a rock or a tree nearby, and whenever you do 0 damage, it will actually count as a use. So shoot this rock or tree over and over and over to raise your skill in bows, which will increase the damage, and it will also let your bow charge a lot quicker in the future, the higher your skill level is. This works for other weapons as well. So when you're ready to fight the boss, grab your best food. At this point, it will probably be honey from beehives, cooked meat, and cooked necktail, as these will give you around 80 to 90 health. Bring your bow and some fire arrows or even flint arrows. I do prefer fire arrows as they can damage the enemy over time, and Eikthyr is a boss that you need to run away from the entire time. So you will need 2 deer trophies to activate the boss fight at the Eikthyr location on your map. All you have to do is place the trophies on your hotbar and press that number on the hotbar while facing the boss altar to start the fight. The boss will spawn where all those yellow sparks fly off and collect. So make sure you use your bow to shoot him right as he spawns because it's a nice free shot. What you should know is that Eikthyr does a lot of lightning attacks that you should dodge. The first is when he stands up on his back legs with his front legs raised, he'll most likely shoot lightning in front of him, so make sure you're not standing in front of him in his way so that you avoid the lightning. His second attack is when you get too close to him, he'll basically try bite you, or he'll kind of like put his head down and try use his horns to like try to just like slam his horns into you. He also has a third attack that looks really similar to his first attack, and this was when he stands up on his back legs, but he'll kind of be there for quite a while longer, and then he'll eventually explode with lightning around him in that area. So it's like a big AoE lightning attack. If you have upgraded your bow and your armor enough, you should be able to easily beat this boss. Just keep shooting him with a fire arrow and then run away to avoid his attacks and get some distance, and then shoot him again with another fire arrow, so the fire damage will just damage him as you're running away. After beating Eikthyr, you'll get 3 hard antler items that will let you craft a pickaxe at your workbench. You'll also get a Eikthyr trophy, which you can place on his starting altar right at the beginning of the game where you start at those altars. Place it on one of the stones and you'll gain access to a special power every time you press the F button. This power in particular will allow you to use 60% less stamina when running or jumping. It will last for about 5 minutes and it takes 20 minutes until you can use it again. I hope this guide was helpful. I do also have guides for every other boss in the game for you to use, so feel free to use those, and thank you for watching. Good luck, Vikings.